What's going on, guys? Welcome back to episode 2 of Divots and Pivots. I'm your host, Andrew LeDuc, aka Real Mr. Mallard, and I am joined with me today by Brad Shanler from the Pesky Report. And we're gonna bring you something a little different today. We're gonna still talk a little bit of golf, but I wanted to bring you a bit more of a real life episode today. So I hope you stick around. Hope you hang with us and just enjoy it. So Brad, how you doing today?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic today, actually. You caught me on a really good day.
That's always good. We got to bring the positivity every day if we can. So that's I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad you're here with me and hoping to spread that positivity around here today. So what I wanted to really get into today was, excuse me. So obviously we divots and pivots. We always talk about golf here, or at least 2 episodes in now. But I wanted to get away from the DFS content today, and more so kind of relate life back to golf. So as we all know, golf is an incredibly mental sport. And the confidence in your game, the confidence in the way you swing compared to the way other people swings, it makes the difference. And no two swings are going to be alike. And to be able to trust yourself and shut out the noise of everybody else's what they're saying you should swing like is often the big difference of what's going to help you get to the next level that you want to get to. And I think that relates back to life. So that's going to be kind of the overall topic. We're gonna kind of explore it in some different questions today. But I wanted to kick us off with the idea that I don't know about you. I know growing up for me, I even into college, hell, I was bullied a lot with, just people kind of other men in my life kind of telling me like, or make it, at least making me feel like I wasn't enough. And it kind of took a hit of my confidence to where when I thought about what it meant to be a man, I thought it meant to be this kind of, I was confusing confidence and arrogance. And that's not who I am in my core. And to 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 view myself as not arrogant enough is outlandish to say now, but I can look back and say that that's kind of how my mind was operating. So for me, kind of my premise of what it meant to be a man and what it meant to be a confident man kind of came from my own experience of how I was put down for being the man I wanted to be. And I'm curious if you've ever experienced anything kind of along those lines that kind of toss some curveballs in your own head about your own confidence of how you wanted to live your life.
So I ended up growing up in like foster homes, residentials, and things like that, in state custody. When I was with my mother, my stepfather was a drunk. He was an alcoholic. And I was pretty much the black sheep of the family. Like I listened to heavy metal, death metal, and I grew up like dyeing my hair. I did the whole goth look. I did the fingernail polish, the lipstick.
Sure.
You wouldn't catch me dead doing that now, but
I did it too.
I mean, I was called, and I mean this in no disrespect to anybody who's listening to this, but I was called a faggot. I was called things like that. I was put down. My stepfather was huge on putting me down because of the fact that I wore nail polish, lipstick, eyeliners. I dyed my hair, like I said, dyed my hair, wore baggy clothes. So going from that into the person that I am today, like I said, you probably wouldn't catch me dead wearing nail polish. I have nothing against it. Obviously, it did it. Um, and the styles that people. I'm the type of person like I feel like I'm getting to be like that person where it's like, get off my lawn. I see these kids nowadays and I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Like, what are you wearing? But it's kind of judgmental, but it's not being judgmental on the same. It's like, I just want to know what it's about. Like back in the day
Yeah.
when I was sagging my pants, it was the fad. Nowadays you have kids that'll wear their pants down to their ankles with a belt on. And I'm just like, what's the deal with that? Like, I've actually pulled over and asked somebody, I was like, hey, I have a question and I don't want you to take it the wrong way. I just want to know, like, what is the deal with the way you're wearing your pants? And they like explained it to me. They were like, oh, it's comfortable. I was like, oh, so there's no like actual thing to it. It's just a fad. And they're like, yeah, it's just fad. I was like, okay.
Yeah. And I think what's interesting is because I did the same thing. I went through so many different phases of my life where I was trying to I guess, feel fit in or feel like I fit in. So, I did the whole, straight up jock, just gym shorts and athletics. And then same thing, went into a bit more of a punk emo goth phase. And then, came out of that, did the whole fraternity scene. Like I was always jumping from the next thing that I thought was going to get me to be surrounded by men that would accept me. And what I think is interesting about what you said is like, yeah, you can look at someone who's older now and has experienced those different things. We can look back and think, um, you're right. It's more of like from a point of curiosity because why. At least I know why I did. I dressed that way because, like I said, I was looking to fit in and I was looking to express myself in a way that I felt like I could. I wasn't necessarily good with talking, so I used clothes to express myself and
Right.
and like that. And so how you did it, but to look at other people that way now, it can be from a non-judgmental point, just from a point of curiosity. Like I wonder what you're going through right now. That is, and this isn't just talking about people who dress in all black. I mean, like why are just for anybody who's acting a certain way? Like why are you choosing to act this way? Is it because you're going through something? Is it just because this is who you are? This is what makes you happy, and all answers are accepted. And it's not judgment, but I think just gaining that little bit of experience is kind of interesting to look around in life like that. So I think it's great that you stop someone on the road and just ask, because that's starting the conversation is the hardest part.
The guy actually wanted to fight me, and I was just like, "Hey, hold on, dude, hold on. Like, I'm literally not trying to like start anything with you or bully you or anything like that." Because I went through that when I was in high school. So when I was in high school, I was really into like the whole mohawk and like I dressed in all black and things like that. But I wasn't one of those kids that was able to like I didn't have the clothes that I wanted, so I had like hand-me-down clothes and things like that. And I got made fun of because of my style. Like I wore like Levi's instead of like, I had a couple pairs of Jankos, but but because I didn't wear Jankos on a constant basis and I wore Levi's and I had Puma shirts on and Puma shoes on and things like that. Like right now, if I had Pumas, I think those were the coolest things in the world. But I also had a mohawk, and I got made fun of because my mohawk didn't go all the way down to all the way back. It stopped at the top of my head. So I got made fun of a lot because of that. And I was just
that might be one of the silliest things I've ever heard someone getting made fun of for.
Back then, I took it to heart.
Well, now, of course, yeah.
Now I'd be like, I don't know if I can swear on here, but
yeah, you can swear.
I'd be like, fuck you. Like I'm the type of person like I'm gonna dress the way I want. I mean, the only time you're gonna see me in like dress up clothes is if someone like my friends or family pass away, get married, or I have a job interview. Other than that, you're gonna see me in work clothes and band t-shirts. And when baseball season's going on, I have like 100 baseball jerseys. Other than that, band t-shirts. Like even now, I'm wearing a band t-shirt. So
sure. No, and that's it is just funny that like because you can look back and say now like what you would do, but you're totally right. It might be a silly thing, and I didn't mean that to be disrespectful, like to be like a silly thing for someone to make fun of you for. But
it's totally it 100% is like back then. Yeah, it was a serious thing. Like when people made fun of you for what you wore, and it's just having confidence, like that's what you wanted to talk about. And now it's like I can't grow hair, so I just shave my head. I just grow the facial hair. So if anybody wants to make fun of my facial hair, they can, just piss off. But I can't. I see somebody with different hair. I'll question it. I'll be like, "Oh, what is that?" Like, I don't know if you've seen the Island Boys.
No. I just saw something on them just recently on Twitter, like within the hour, and
they're ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. But
I think what they're doing is absolutely hilarious, and I think it's fantastic that they have the confidence to be able to do something like that.
Exactly.
But on the other hand, I think they have too much confidence and they're trying to fight people. Like they went on one of the Paul's podcasts and they were going to get into a fight. And I'm like, come on, bro. Like you can't fight these guys.
Yeah. It's good to have confidence, but it still needs to be controlled confidence.
Right. You don't want to be, like you said, arrogant.
Yeah, and then and that's the thing. We take those things when we're younger to heart, and if we don't kind of process those, they do just kind of snowball into, you think when you grow up you're just gonna like forget about that stuff, move on and be an adult, and it's all gonna be, you know, all gonna be shiny roses, and your life's gonna fall into place. And unfortunately, what I'm finding out over the last year or so is you kind of bring it all with you. If you don't tackle it when it's going on, then you're gonna tackle it eventually. It's like chickenpox. If you don't get chickenpox as a kid, like watch out, you're gonna get chickenpox as an adult, and it's gonna suck 10 times worse. Like,
Right. Right.
yeah,
That's why parents always were like, "Oh, hey, you haven't had chicken pox. Your friend has chicken pox. You're gonna go play with them."
yeah. Go have a party. When
Yeah.
you come back, I'll have the oatmeal baths and the cat, whatever, the calamine lotion. Is that what it was? Ready?
I don't even remember
Just the
like
pink
what it
stuff that they
was.
smear you with.
I have no idea. Like I don't remember anything from the chicken pox. Honestly, I just remember the dots all over my face and stuff.
I have one memory, and it's so weird, but I have one memory of the chicken pox being at my aunt's house and just like on the corner of the wall with my back just up and down like that. It's such a weird memory to hold on to with the chicken pox, but
It's like a
my,
terrible sunburn.
yeah, pretty much. It is, but yeah, so yeah, I mean, so now we've kind of talked a little bit about what we kind of what we experienced as kids. It sounds like it's somewhat similar. We were put in a position where our confidence in ourselves wasn't exactly fostered, and I know, like, I know you said you grew up in the system, like foster care and whatnot. I grew up in a pretty normal household, mother and father, and but for me, it was kind of a different thing where my family was very involved in the church that was right down the street. Like my father was a deacon, my mother was the secretary at the school. I went to that school, like, so like growing up until eighth grade, I was like, the golden child in the community
So,
because like people knew my parents, so like I had eyes on me.
let me ask you a question.
Yeah,
So you went. So I'm assuming you went to church every Sunday.
I did.
Did you? Are you a religious person now?
I am not Catholic anymore. I'm just non-denominational Christian.
Okay.
But I am. Faith is a part of my life. Yes, it wasn't for a while after that, but it is now again.
So my mother, and my stepfather were very religious,
Hmm.
and we were brought up whatever religion basically.
Yeah.
My mom lived. She lived to like take from the church. Like the church would help in this,
Okay.
that, the other thing.
Sure.
And she had two kids, didn't have a real good job. My stepfather was a drunk,
Hmm.
and so uh, we had some, I forgot what they're called, but the people that knock on your door, not Jehovah's Witnesses, but
Okay.
they would
Was it
just,
like Latter Day Saints or something? I forget
yeah,
the other ones that walks around. Yeah.
it was Mormons. They were walking
Okay.
around, but they came around, and at this time I was like 12 years old.
Hmm.
I was smoking cigarettes at this time. What I
Okay.
did was I took my mom's cigarettes and I like took the tobacco out of the butts and left them in in a Ziploc bag and whatnot. They come into the house, they see this bag of tobacco, and they just look at me sitting there with this rolling a cigarette, and they're like, should we come back? But I was one of those kids that like I was forced to go to church. I was
Yep.
forced to do the church thing, and I feel as though like I have nothing against religion. It's not for me,
Yep.
but I feel as though the reason why it is not for me is the fact that I was forced into it, and
Sure.
I had to go every Sunday, and luckily for myself, by the time I was 13, I think I got kicked out of church and I was told not to come back.
That's when I was 13, I probably would have loved that because I was the same way. It was like it felt like that I had no choice but to go, and there was a time when I was younger where I like really bought in, but then once again, that was something that I would get made fun of, like for trying to be like as others would say, like the goody two shoe kid. In reality, I was just doing what felt right at the time, as a 12,
Was never
13
the
year
goody
old,
goody.
but like, excuse me. So yeah, but I mean, I was the same way. But then once I kind of hit 18 and went off to college, I was like I was done with church. I didn't go back to church until I met my wife in What year did we meet? It was 2024. 2024. 2000
The
2012.
Terminator.
I was going to say we were 24 when we met. We met in 2012. So she's the one who started taking me back to church, and it was a non-denominational Christian church, and that felt more kind of laid back and relaxed for me to kind of go back into. So yeah, it did get me back into it. I think my parents are now just happy I believe in something, but so they
It's
don't
always
really,
good.
they
It's
don't push that
definitely
anymore, which is good. But
that was my biggest issue is it was pushed on me.
yeah,
I feel as though if I was able to find it myself, um, I would have had more. I would have been more interested.
yeah,
Like I've read a Bible. I don't know which version of the Bible I've read, but there's so many of them.
yeah,
But I've read the Bible here and there. I know some of the verses
mm-hmm.
and things like that. But I mean, it's not something that I live by. It's not something that I believe in. But the thing is like I can sit here and as a man, I can sit here and say, "Hey, that's your thing. You
Mm-hmm.
want to do that? That's cool. Don't push that on me."
Oh,
That's
100%.
that's
Yeah,
that's the only thing, like because of the fact that it was pushed on me as a child.
yep,
I think that's the reason why I am the way I am when it comes to religion. Is like my mom made me go. I had foster families that made me go, and I had a foster family that had me in Sunday church or Sunday
mm-hmm.
school, and
The
I'm
Sunday
just like,
school, yep,
I would walk out. I would just walk out, and then they get pissed off at me and ask me why I was walking out. And I was like, it's not for me.
yeah.
Like, what don't you get? Like, you can only skip like Sunday school like 20 times in a row before like you get your message through.
Yeah. And that's the definitely thing. If you try to force it, it's never going to be well received. I mean, I shouldn't say never, but it's typically not going to be well received.
Yeah,
Most of the
typically
time.
when you say no or like you're gonna do this or whatever, the kid's gonna
Yeah.
do the opposite.
Oh, 100%. And so I think it's interesting that we kind of ended up down this path because that is kind of like I think a lot of my confidence issues as a man even now can go back to that time where I've always felt like I was pretending to be something that I didn't care about, or I was doing it for the sake of to keep other people happy, and never really feeling like I explored what I wanted to be in myself, kind of thing. And
Right.
and when you don't do that, and when you hit 32 like me, and you still don't know that now you got a wife, and now like I got two kids and a wife, like those issues start to come out in the way you treat them and treat the friends around you, and because you've never dealt with that, and you've never how when you grow up and you're gonna start dealing with adult shit, you better know who you are, or you're gonna struggle sometimes. And
Right.
that's
That's a big thing with me. It's like if I was to talk to myself back when I was 13, even 16 years old, I would probably try fighting myself. Like if my
yeah,
16-year-old would be like, dude, what the fuck's wrong with you? Like I said, I was always into like the different types of music. I liked metal from a young age. I was
hmm
probably like 9 or 10 years old when I got into metal, and I took on that whole like uh, that entire look. Like I
sure,
used to have the piercings, I have the tattoos, I
hmm
have the t-shirts and things like that. But if like 16-year-old me saw me now wearing a flat billed hat with like a baseball team on it, I'd be like, well, what the fuck is wrong with you, dude? Like
yep.
I'm wearing Carhartt pants, like why am I wearing Carhartt pants? Like
How
I
dare
don't
you wear
care.
name brand anything, right?
It's not even that. It's just like it doesn't usually go with the image, and
Sure.
I just don't care. Like that's not my thing anymore. I wear baseball jerseys. At my last job, I was known as the Boston guy because I'd walk it. I started my job in my first 2 weeks there. I had a different Red Sox shirt on every day.
Yep.
So I mean, I think so. This is about confidence, and it's like there's a certain time, a certain age where you just got to be like, fuck it. I'm going to
Yeah.
do me. And if you don't do you, you're never going to be happy.
Yeah. And
It's
it's
like,
not going to be any but in the fault of anybody else around you. That's going to be like, you got to figure out the work you need to do on yourself to be happy.
right.
That's the way you're going to be the best for anybody else in your life.
Exactly. And I'll just give like a tiny example here.
Yeah.
Like we talked about it just right before we started recording this. In the past year, I've lost, my girlfriend. I ended up losing my job. I ended up getting COVID. I've had like such a shitty year, but it's like you can't just sit there and be down on yourself. And
Mhm.
if you're down on yourself for too long and you don't have that confidence to build yourself, like get yourself up to get, basically dust yourself off and just like start doing what you have to do, you're just going to be down in the dumps. And nobody wants to be around somebody who's going to be, I know people that deal with depression. I deal with depression myself, but
Yep,
I
I do
do
too.
have I have the confidence. And every now and then you literally just got to say fuck it. It doesn't matter what anybody else says. It's what you do. you know
Yep.
I was laid off about 2 weeks ago, and that was probably the hard, besides a relationship standpoint, that was probably the hardest thing that's ever happened to me in my 38 years of living. And I in 2 weeks I got a new job. I dust myself off. I went like I hit the floor running. I put boots to asses, as The Rock would say, and I went out, put my resume out all over the place, and I got offered a position at a job that I'm excited to start at, and I start my job on Monday. So
And there you go.
that's where confidence hits.
Yeah, and confidence doesn't mean that you have to be right all the time, or it doesn't mean that you're going to make the right decision or the right move every time. But confidence also means that you're willing to graciously admit when you do make a wrong decision. Like it can go both ways. Like
Absolutely.
confidence isn't just positivity. Confidence is how you handle negativity too. And I think
Right.
that's where I know for me in the past. So like with me, you mentioned it. I also deal with depression. I deal with anxiety. It's a more recent journey that I'm going through, but it's something that I'm realizing I can find examples of throughout my entire life. But I'm going through the journey of exploring all that now.
Right.
Um, and which has been an awesome transition for me, and I highly recommend, just on a slight side note here, highly recommend to anybody out there, man, woman, but I mean, to not leave anybody out, but in this specific episode I'm talking to you men out there, because I feel like there's more of a stigma for men to go and seek help and to seek a therapist, seek a psychologist, seek medication, whatever you need. That It's about you. Like, who cares if other people know you're going to therapy? Wear that proudly, because I think it's. I mean, you don't have to run around and like shove it in everybody's face that you're going to therapy. But I'm just saying, if someone were to like ask you about it, or if it comes up to where it's useful for you to bring up in conversation to help somebody else and to maybe convince them to get the help that they need, like, don't be ashamed of that. Like, therapy is one of the best things that has happened in my life to kind of start me on a more confidence path. So, more confidence path. So mental illness, whatever, like, you can control that shit. It might be harder for some people, but you can grab control of that, and you can do what you need to do to live the life you want to be and you want to live. And that's the main thing I wanted to talk about today is we need to be confident to be our truest self.
Right.
Because for so long I felt like I was um, either living like being someone I wasn't, because I was trying to find myself, or that I wanted to be a certain somebody, but I was too scared, thinking I wouldn't be able to live up to that. So then I fall back to, quite frankly, being an asshole.
Well, here's my thing is sometimes I've put up walls to
Yes.
where I don't let people in, and sometimes I'm a person who tends to say what's on his mind no matter what.
Okay.
So I'm the type of person that, like, fuck you. You said something that pissed me off. Screw you.
So
I don't
I could
care.
use a little more of that.
I tend to try not to let people walk all over me.
Yep.
And I've actually I've actually have dealt with this on with our podcast. And we started in March, and we've had, I want to say, a revolving door I want to say about 4 or 5 people have already come and gone. And
Okay.
it's because we butted heads. And I was just like, I'm in charge here, not you. I don't care what you have to say. And recently it's kind of, I've thought about it, and I'm just like, I can't do this if we're going to have a successful show,
Yeah.
you know? And I've gotten to the point to where, like, okay, I got you know, you don't have to like respond to somebody as soon as they say something because they pissed you off. Take a second, relax, let it blow over for a little bit, get back to it in a day if you have to. Before it was like somebody would say something and I'd be like, nah, fuck you.
Yeah, that's someone recently told me, like, what might be the greatest advice is to, when you feel you're in a moment like that, to stop and say respond and don't react, because I'm guilty of. So like, it's funny, like, my reaction aren't as like outward and like forward as yours are. Like you're saying, you'd be like, oh fuck you, like this is the way it is, like verbally telling somebody the way it is, and taking control. With me, my reactions would be much more like passive and quiet, and I would just then get grumpy about everything, and then every little thing pisses me off, and then but with that, then you change the mood of the house around you, the mood of the room you're in with your friends, and
Right.
and then that permeates to other people, and you don't even realize you're doing it. I mean, at least I didn't really realize I was even doing it. But for years, I would hold in, like, if something upset me, just to avoid creating a messy situation of an argument. I would just hold that shit in. But then I'd be also at the same time questioning, like, why did I just get mad over something silly that my wife or my kids said? Like, and I didn't get mad to yelling at them, but I just would like then get reserved and like sit back, and it all kind of goes back to that. You gotta have.
Getting pissed off at kids is probably the funniest thing. My
I'm
nephew,
awful.
my nephew's a Yankees fan.
Oh well, okay.
So this is here's a funny story. My nephew's a Yankees fan. He was born in 2010, right?
Okay.
So we ended up going to the Baseball Hall of Fame together.
Nice.
And my nephew's kind of a dick. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. He's 11 years old. He's kind of a dick. And he's like me, if he's got something he in his head and he wants to say it, he's gonna say it,
Sure.
So we go to the Baseball Hall of Fame and he sees all the New York Yankees rings, right? And their little watch and whatever. And he goes, Uncle Brad, why do the Yankees have more world championships than the Red Sox? And I looked at him, and this is exactly what I said. I was like, Anthony, you were born in 2010. You have yet to see a New York Yankees championship. Never mind, have you seen them make the World Series? Shut the fuck up. I said those words exactly to I think he was 9 at the time.
Yeah.
But like, after thinking about it, I was like, probably shouldn't have said that to a 9-year-old.
I've never sworn at my kids, but
it's not my kid, so it doesn't matter. There's confidence there. No.
Okay.
But my nephew and I, we go back. My nephew knows not to talk baseball with me, because he knows that no matter what, I'm gonna shit on him if he has something to say about the Red Sox. But in fairness, my nephew and I, we've gone to baseball games together. I brought him to go see the Yankees. We were supposed to go see the New York Mets. It got rained out. Then we went 2 days later. It got rained out again, and then he was just like, "Nah, I don't want to go." And then I spent $400 on Green Monster tickets just for myself, because my brother ended up getting tickets to go on top of the Green Monster from one of his sponsors. He's a painter.
Okay.
And they gave him Green Monster tickets, and I was like, "Well, dude, this is my park. Like, I wanted to bring my nephew to this park, so I was like, I gotta be there for his first game."
Yeah,
so
it's a special place.
So we went, right? Spent the $400 on it. Got rained out. The game was the very next day, and it was one of them stupid 7-inning double headers. I was pissed. So, and then my nephew didn't even get to go.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah, I was so pissed off. And then now, because my brother's a dick about it, he's like, "Oh, AJ's bad luck going to baseball games. It's always raining every time he goes." Like, fuck off.
Well, he hasn't
Don't say
technically gone yet, so.
we went to a Yankees game and we saw the Yankees and Diamondbacks, and we had fun. And it rained that game.
Oh, jeez. Of course it did.
Rained. So he really is bad luck. Fuck.
Yeah. So just because I know you'll appreciate this quick baseball sidebar. So back in like 2000, it was either 2009, 2010. I want to say 2009. I forget. You'll probably know the year it was. But so I went to, I was in Baltimore and got tickets to see the Sox play in Baltimore. And it was when Manny Ramirez was on 499 career home runs. So I was like, oh, I'm going to like, there's a real good chance I'm going to see it. I was at the game and it didn't happen. Then the people behind us was like, hey, meet us here tomorrow. We'll sell you tickets. So, I'm a college student. I'm like, yeah, why not? So I go and do that. I buy his tickets, go up there, and then I get to see Manny's 500th home run in Camden, which was absolutely fantastic. Almost lost my mind. But it wasn't raining, and it was a fantastic game. But like that's like my best baseball star. I was like, it was just cool to see history like that.
I think that was 2008.
Was it 8? Oh, wow, it was even further than I thought. That actually might be right because I think I was a sophomore in college. I was a freshman in 07. So,
yep, it was May 31st.
Okay.
2008.
Yeah, so that was the end of my. Well, that was the end of my freshman year, actually.
What was your very first game that you went to? If you don't mind me asking.
So for Red Sox wise, I went with a school trip? I want to say it was with a school trip, and I went to see. I remember. So we went to see the Braves at Fenway, and we sat way up in the bleachers, like underneath the scoreboard. And I remember drunken fans behind, sitting behind these multiple rows of like third and fourth graders, convinced us to run up and down the stairs of the bleachers yelling "Chipper's got cooties" for Chipper Jones, and that's what we did. That's what we did, and we felt so cool as like I said, like fourth graders. It was fantastic.
So, I've admitted this numerous times on our podcast. I admitted that I actually grew up a Yankees fan.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting story, and a lot of people are like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah, we don't usually get converts around here.
Well, like I said, I was in foster homes. So
yes.
One of the foster homes I was in, they were New York everything: New York Giants, okay. New York Knicks, New York Yankees, New York. I think it's the Rangers.
Yeah.
But I grew up in their household, listening and watching New York Yankees, and to this day, my all-time favorite player is Don Mattingly.
Okay, that's super interesting, especially with Red Sox history.
But I will never change that. I think he got screwed out of the Yankees organization. Mm-hmm. I'm a baseball fan first, but I'm a Red Sox fan.
That's
like
fair
enough. I can appreciate things, and I became a Red Sox fan. I watched Gator, Mike Greenwell. I was sitting in my dad's house. We were watching the Red Sox. I watched Greenwell hit a home run over the Green Monster, over onto Lansdowne, and I thought he was the coolest guy ever because he hit the ball completely out over the monster.
Yeah.
And come to find out, Mike Greenwell just had the warning track power,
Yeah, so, he got really lucky with that pitch.
Yeah.
So and the fact that it was Fenway.
Exactly. So I tell that story to pretty much everybody when they say something about baseball. But my very first game was actually the day before the bombing.
Really? Wait, so the first time in Fenway, you mean?
First baseball game I ever went to.
Oh, really? Ever went to?
Right.
Okay.
So
wow.
I didn't I was a Red Sox fan, but I wasn't diehard.
Sure.
I wasn't a diehard fan. I paid attention in like 99. I knew who Nomar was. I knew who Pedro was.
Okay.
I know who Trot Nixon was. Go through 99, 2000. I started paying attention to 2003. 2004 got a lot of my attention, especially during the ALCS. Yeah. After they won the World Series, I got more into them. Didn't really get super, super involved with the Red Sox where I was like, I have to watch this game no matter what until 2013.
Okay.
I was working for StubHub, at the time, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to a Red Sox game no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Bought a ticket. It was just a random ticket. Just happened to be a day game, and it was my girlfriend at the time and two of my friends. We all went. It was all of our first time going to a baseball game, and we happened to go down on the field. We happened to get to go down on the field. I got to meet Johnny Gomes. I met Ryan Dempster. Got to walk, take pictures.
How did you get down there? What was the circumstance to get down
It
there?
was just a special occasion that they did for that exact day.
Oh, wow.
It was a fan appreciation day, and it didn't say it on the ticket.
Oh, okay.
So we all got down there and whatnot. Did that, and like my friends are asking me, they're like, "Oh, who's this player?" I was like, "I don't fucking know. Who's this player? I don't fucking know."
Like, read the back of his jersey.
No, because at home games,
they
don't have their names on their jerseys.
Yep.
So I want to say a day or so later, I find out the guy that I took a picture with was Johnny Gomes. He ends up being my favorite player in the season. It wasn't because I took a picture with him. He was like my favorite player of the season.
He was fun to watch. He just has such a crazy attitude about him.
Exactly. Him and Napoli were two of my favorite guys.
Napoli was awesome, yes.
Then from that year on, I try to go to at least 5 games a year.
Okay. Nice.
I did get to go to. I went to my very first AL a postseason game this past season.
I haven't done that before. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, the coolest thing about it is I only paid $40 for the ticket.
Oh wow, that's pretty impressive.
So I live maybe about 2 hours away from Fenway.
Yep.
And I'm just gonna throw a number. Like I like say the game started at 8:00, right?
Mm-hmm.
I bought the ticket online at like $7.50.
Oh, okay. So, and that's shocking that there was still tickets available online.
Oh, there was tons of tickets available.
That's insane.
And the coolest thing about that was the one where Kyle Schwarber hit the grand slam in the first inning or the second inning, I think.
Yep.
And the other cool thing is like so everybody on our podcast is from like all over the U.S. So we got people from Massachusetts, we got people from New York, got a couple people from Connecticut. One person's out in California, one's in Iowa. Excuse me. I got to actually meet one of the guys on the podcast, and it was cool. It was cool.
That is pretty cool.
That game.
Yeah, when you can put a face to a virtual face, I guess. Like
we see each other. We see each other. We can't give each other hugs and kisses and things like that, you know.
No, that's cool. Yeah, that's pretty crazy kind of sports journey as a Red Sox fan. That I wouldn't have guessed. So that's really awesome. Yeah, I remember my first disappointment as a sports fan was when the Patriots lost to Green Bay in the Super Bowl in '96. That was the first time that I remember like being disappointed by sports. With sports, I felt like broke my heart. Like I went to school the next day and just was sad all day because the Patriots had lost. Like so, that's always like my go-to like sports memory. Like, that's where I became like a diehard sports fan of everything. Where I was like, I'm gonna care way too much about this stuff growing up.
Baseball is the only sport I give a fuck about. I don't care.
Really?
Like I pay attention to the postseason for football.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about basketball. I don't care about
I don't really care about basketball either. Yeah.
I've watched the Premier League recently because I live on the USA Network. But and like once in a while it'll come on, but I don't know what they're doing. I don't get hockey. I don't understand it. They don't fight as much anymore, so there's that.
It's a shame.
And so that loses my interest right away.
Mm-hmm. It's funny that the fact that there's no fighting in hockey loses your interest. Yet you can sit and watch baseball. That seems so backwards to me.
Like you want to see how much of a diehard baseball fan I am?
Let's see it. All jerseys, and it's all different teams. I can tell too.
Yep. I have one jersey from every team, and yes, I even have a New York Yankees jersey. I have a Don Mattingly jersey, and I lost a bet to my brother for the 2020 season, and I had to buy a Luke Voit jersey.
Oh, jeez.
You know what? If you're gonna have any player on the Yankees on the current roster, Luke Voigt's the one to go to.
That's fair enough. I'm not gonna second guess you on that one. That's fair enough. That is just funny. Like, yeah. So I mean, obviously, I write football during the season, and obviously now I'm switched over to golf. We're not really talking about golf today, but golf is like
I just started trying to get into golf. It's a little different. I have a pretty bad back, so like
sure.
I don't do it all that often. But when my back is feeling good, I have no problem.
Yeah,
I can drive a ball. After that, I can't do shit.
that's what a lot of people say. It's funny because then once you start playing golf on a course consistently, you start to focus on like doing the other stuff, like the irons and the short game and the putting, and then you figure that out. You can't drive the ball anymore.
I'm terrible when it comes to putting. My brother, during the season, he'll go out and golf 2 times a day on the weekends, and if he has a day off on the weekday, he'll go out maybe once or twice.
Okay. Yeah, I wish I could play. I was part of a league this past year, so I was able to play every Monday, which was a lot because before that, for a couple of years, I was playing like once a year, which is never enough to, one, if you really like golf, that's just not enough to enjoy it, and two, it's not enough to get better or stay consistently good either.
Oh, I'm just terrible. I just did it for fun.
Yeah.
My old company used to do a golf tournament once a year.
Those are always so much fun.
And I think they're called scrambles.
Yep.
We would do scrambles, and I was the worst person on our team.
But those are just all about having fun. Like that's what that is. It's those are an absolute blast. I love those. And golf is so. What's interesting about golf is that I think when it comes to watching golf on TV, it definitely helps to play golf yourself too, because I think you gain a bit more respect for like when they hit an amazing shot on TV. I think if you don't know what it's like to swing a club, you don't realize how hard it is to do what they just did. So it becomes more exciting that you watch somebody do it.
Watching golf to me is like watching paint dry. If that makes any sense. Like no offense. Like playing, it's fun, but watching it, like that's weird to say because I'm a baseball fan.
Once again, it is kind of weird. But I get it. As a golf fan, I get that. And that's all right. Like, it took me a while to enjoy watching it too. And then one of the big things that got me into it was, when I started playing DFS for it, the sweat just became real for it, to where I was all of a sudden cheering for guys that I never would have even known before I started playing DFS. So that is what kind of helped started to broaden my horizons on golf a few years ago, even though I always kind of knew what was going on. But
I'm sure that if I understood the game more, like using the irons, the wedges, and things like that, I'd probably appreciate watching it a little more often.
100%.
But I mean, like I said, it's so weird as a baseball fan to say something like this, but like I can't watch somebody hit a ball and just like run after it.
That is baseball summed up.
It really is. It's like you either, I don't know.
Except there's more action in golf because technically the second the guy's shot is over, they jump to showing somebody else. So you don't have the waiting in the batter's box and pitches that don't do anything.
I am not making anything easier over here. I can't watch it. It would be like, I bet you, to me, in all honesty, there's a difference between watching a baseball game on TV and watching a baseball game live.
Oh, sure.
And it's almost, I'll put this one out there too. It's like, I don't know if you like wrestling at all, but
not really. Yeah.
But watching wrestling on TV is a lot different than watching wrestling live.
Now do you mean like WWE wrestling or like legitimate wrestling? Okay. Yeah. See, I
don't give a shit about amateur wrestling.
Well, I meant like like Olympic style wrestling, like that kind of wrestling.
That's amateur wrestling.
Well,
amateurs.
My in-law's family is big wrestling family, so I've gone to a couple meets, and it's actually pretty enjoyable to watch. It's pretty exciting to watch actual wrestling. I won't say actual wrestling, but like Olympic style wrestling.
Right. So I like to have the commentary, like when it comes to baseball. So once in a while, I'll go to a game, but I'm listening to the game on my headphones.
Okay.
And people try to talk to me, and I'm just like, fuck off. Like I'm actually trying to like hear what happened. Like you're out in the bleachers, you can't see that it was a strike. You know,
yeah.
you can ooh and ah all you want, like it was a strike or a ball, but like
And all it
you
takes is one person in the bleachers to start oohing and on, and then everybody else starts doing this. And then you're like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do it too because they must be right, right? Like,
exactly. And with wrestling, the same thing. Commentary, like I watch wrestling, I won't go to a live event, and I don't like the live events because you don't hear that, you know.
sure.
So at home, I can sit here on my TV, watch everything that's going on. I get the commentary,
I could see
and
that with wrestling. That the commentators are also part of the show, part of the storyline. So if you're missing that, I could see where it would feel like you're missing a piece of the puzzle of what's going on.
I feel we just got completely off track here.
Oh, we 100% got off track, but
That's fine.
But what I was gonna, I mean, because we got like 15 minutes left here, so like it's a perfect way to kind of bring it back to golf and like kind of the overall idea that we were talking about, and like what I don't mind that we got off track here is that I've only ever talked to you briefly in the group chat, and we've never talked in person before. Um, but
Technically, we still haven't talked in person.
but we said, well, you know what I mean. If I had a drum, but but like this conversation right here though, like even just opening up to talking to you, and then let alone however many people choose to listen or watch this stream, is just for me to have, and yourself, like to just come out and start like you shared some stuff about your life that is vulnerable, and you know I didn't share details or anything, but you know I shared about like my own mental journey, and like I never would have done that before. Like that's the type of stuff that my idea of a man growing up would have stopped me from doing, because that would have seen, I would have had this fear in me that any guy watching this would see that as weak, and would have, and then in turn would not talk to me, would not want to be my friend, and that's such a wrong way of looking at it. To me now as an adult, yeah, I can now say that it's to share that and put that out there is actually a sign of strength. It's a sign of confidence in the right way, that you know I am so comfortable in my own skin that I can put this out there, and I'm not going to care if you want to talk to me, or if you don't want to talk to me, that's fine. That means you're not meant to be in my life. And that's all right, because you need to surround yourself with people who are going to better yourself. And I'm saying this kind of half tongue in cheek because I'm still not perfect at this. This is still something that I'm struggling with and working through right now. It's a big part of my life. Yeah, it takes time, and it's still a big part of my life that I'm working through right now, and that's okay because I'm going to continue to work. So like if anybody out there is listening to this is kind of feeling that same way, you just got to take those steps of putting yourself out there. And look, I was going to tie it back to golf because, you know, like I said, with the whole stuff with swinging, and there's so many different ways to do it. You can get so caught up in trying everybody else's way that you forget to explore what feels most comfortable for you. And if your whole goal in life is to be the best version of yourself for someone that you love, or for a family or whatever, what I'm learning right now is that you don't put the focus on those people necessarily. You got to put the focus on being the best version of you for yourself, because that's going to then permeate to the people you love. They're going to see that and they're going to react to that, and that's going to get the result that you're ultimately looking for, is what I believe.
I'm the type of person where I've pushed so many people away from me because the fact that like I don't want to open up, I don't want to talk about things, you know, and like I had for a brief period of time in my life, I had a drug addiction, and I was addicted to Percocets. And you know, I'd wake up every morning, I'd snort some lines of Percocets, I'd go to work completely screwed up. You know, I put myself at risk by driving under the influence, going to work under the influence, working on a pallet jack, and that. And I thought I was fine. I thought it was perfectly fine, and I ended up. My dad got found out about it, and when my dad found out about it, my dad's the type of person where he doesn't show his emotions and his feelings and things like that, because he grew up, you know, the 60s and 70s.
Exactly. Yeah.
And he called me up one day and he was like, "We need to talk." I was like, okay. He was like, well, why don't you meet me for lunch? And I was
Mhm.
like, well, what's it about? And he told me. He was like, I found out, this, that, and the other thing. And I was like, okay, let's talk. And then my
Okay.
dad and I talked about it. And if it wasn't for my dad and a couple of my friends, I probably would have ended up dead because of the fact
Mhm.
that I was just doing this like so much. I had a roommate at the time that was selling me these pills, and I had access to these all the time, every day, at
Mhm.
any point in time. And
Yeah.
I talked to my dad about it, and my dad, he was like, "If you need somebody to talk to, if you need me to, need me to find somebody to like get you put into a wellness program or something like that, let me know, and I will." And like I cried over it. My dad
Yeah.
showing me that he cared about me and whatnot. And I mean, I still kind of, push people away and things, but my dad and I have a good relationship. I'm a hugger, so like
Okay.
I'm a hugger. I mean, I'll give you a handshake and whatnot, but if I know you, I'll give you a hug.
Yep.
My, I think I've given my dad maybe 2 hugs in 30 years.
Okay.
And not 30 years. I want to say since I was 16, I probably have given my dad 2 hugs. Because when I was younger, that's different. You're a kid.
Sure. Yeah.
But as an adult, as an adolescent, it's a little weird in that sense. My dad's not a hugger.
Mhm.
My dad's a all right handshake.
Yep.
I'm trying to get my dad more into that. But
But same thing. You can't if that's not what he's gonna be. You can't
right,
force it at the same time.
I don't force it. I
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
ask. I'll go over his house and whatnot, and I'm like hug, and like nothing. He'll be like he'll say no, thank you.
Yeah.
It's
So it's
nothing
more in a
terrible.
joking, more kind of in a joking way, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I
So
get that. Now, if in we only have 10 minutes, and this would probably lead to a bigger conversation, but I am kind of curious, just in my own exploration of like my own addictions to different things. Do you think you did it because of a sense of gave you a sense of like control over your life? Because I'm realizing a lot of the things that I was, you know,
the Percocets.
yeah, like but like it gave you almost like a sense of like inner control over your emotions, over like your feelings. Like if because I know for me, a lot of my addictive behaviors seem to be resulting in times that I feel out of touch with myself and out of control internally, not from anybody else, but internally, and those end up being vices and escapes for me to feel like even just moments of control.
My addiction to Percocets stemmed from my bad back.
Okay.
I was doing taking Percocets because I was having problems with my back. I was in constant pain,
Mhm.
and then after a while, it just wasn't doing anything. So then I started snorting them.
Sure.
And then when you snort them, it tends to get you higher quicker.
Yep.
And if kids are watching this, don't listen to that.
Yeah, maybe maybe we should have put the explicit one on this one.
Sorry.
Whoops.
Um, but no, so when you do things like that, I was doing it for that simple fact. And as time progressed, while I was doing that, my fiance ended up leaving me. So went
Mhm.
down a I went down a deep hole where I was super depressed, and I was just like, this is gonna make me feel better.
Yeah,
You know,
it became a familiar remedy.
it's almost like an alcoholic, somebody who,
Mhm.
I'm going to come home from work. I had a bad day. I'm going to have a drink. I had a good day. I'm going to have a drink,
Sure.
something like that. And then I'm just going to keep drinking until I get messed up. Well, that was my thing, is like I was in such a depressive state of mind that I was doing it. I was going to work. I'd wake up, I'd crush some. I got to stop
Yeah,
explaining what to do.
we'll just say you took it.
I did it, and then I would do my thing. I would go to
Yeah,
work. I'd come home, do my thing, and then right before bed, I would do my thing. And it just became a problem. I almost got into a car accident going to a friend's birthday party. I explained to everybody there. I was like, "Oh yeah, I just did this, this, and this," and they
yeah.
and like instead of going, "Oh, good for you," I got the yeah, what an idiot. Like, why would you do
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, in your
And
head you think it's gonna make you cool, and then you realize when you say it, like you reach a certain level with people, you realize, hey, wait a minute,
exactly.
like these people that I'm trying to impress are actually like like they're not as crazy as I think they are. They don't want to see bad things happen or wild things happen.
All
Like
right.
they just want to have a safe, good time.
People actually give a damn.
Yeah, and once you realize that, it's it's game changing, and yeah, I definitely want to get back to and I pushed that conversation there, so that's on me to to kind of bring out those
That's
details.
fine.
But I think, but even if it's not like your situation or my, like, we make sometimes decisions to feel, like I said, for me to feel in control of like my inner sanity in my mind, and it feels good to have that control for the temporary, but then what it's taken me now, I guess, 7 years to realize is that the effect that can have on the people around you,
Right.
like those tiny little moments of you gaining control are also tiny little moments that you are taking away from the people that you love, or in one way or another, whether it's just attentive time to them, whether it's you're just not being nice. Like, it shows itself in many different ways, but it all, you can't have this without it can't have A without also having B be a factor.
Right.
And to balance that to where, what I'm now trying to figure out, which I think is key for a lot of men, is to once again go back to finding the confidence to be the true self. Like, so for me, my true self that I've always struggled feeling comfortable with in having friendships with other men, because I feel like it's just not going to be accepted. But I like to be just freaking goofy and silly,
Yep.
and sometimes weird, and maybe sometimes childish for my age, like not in like an inappropriate way, but just in like hell, I think some silly stuff is funny, and
Yeah.
and
I'm sorry. I still laugh when I hear the ketchup bottle.
okay, so yeah, like
I'm
like
38 years old. If I go to a restaurant and I hear a through a
oh
ketchup
yeah.
bottle, I'm like,
And what it was like, so I like to be, I like to make silly noises and voices, and have fun, and not care. And like, I think when I got married, I had this thought that if I'm still acting like that kind of person, like, I'm not gonna be like an adult. Like, I'm not
right.
gonna be able to be the husband, or the
I,
home, like the homekeeper, father, whatever you want to call it. Like
you
that
have
was the
to.
main fear.
Yeah.
But then
I mean,
in running from that true version of myself, I became what I didn't want to be anyways, and like, not the greatest version of a husband, not the greatest version of a father, and that's
you
what.
got to be true to yourself is really what it boils down to. And I
Yeah.
completely understand when it comes to like fooling around and whatnot. My previous relationship, I go out into public, they had this thing on TikTok. It was like, oh yeah, so
I know what you're talking about.
we
Yeah.
go when we went out to public, say to like a Walmart or something, I would just be like, "Can I get a fucking hi?" And she'd be like, "Brad, stop." And I'm like, "Oh yeah,
Someone would always do it back.
yeah." And we started doing it. We started doing it at work too. It was so funny. We had a few people doing it. So
Yeah.
I get the goofy thing. I do a lot of the goofy stuff, and unfortunately, the people that I'm around usually gets embarrassed by it, and it
Yeah.
sucks. But it's like that's me. Like I'm the type of person. Like I'm goofy. You
And
don't like that?
as long as you know that, though, and you're not, and you don't, once you find, you don't change for because you think it's going to make somebody else
I like
happy.
I like my beard,
Yep.
and I had a girlfriend who was like, when we started dating, I had a full fucking beard,
Hmm.
and then come to find out, like 3 months later, she wanted me to cut it off, and I was just like, no,
Now, this is
and
something we should have talked about at the start.
no, I'm all set. So
No. So yeah. So look, we only just got a couple minutes left here, so I want to be able to give you a chance to one, plug yourself, and then if you just had like one quick sentence of advice to young men out there, just from your own experience, whatever you think would be helpful to be said to a generation of men to help really grab themselves and be true to themselves. So just, I want you to have a minute or two here to say what you want to say. Plug yourself and do that. Just go for it.
so plugging the podcast. We're Boston Red Sox podcast. We typically during the season we will record an episode after each series. Right now, because there's a lockout, we're recording once a week. Typically, it's on a Monday. this week. It's going to be on Wednesday because tonight we've got the Hall of Fame vote coming out, and hopefully David Ortiz is a for sure first ballot Hall of Famer. Which if he isn't, I'm going to kick Dan Shaughnessy right in the ball sack or where his ball should be. You can follow us on all social media at Pesky Report. And also you can follow me. I'm on Twitter. It's BRS Baseball 83. I do go on there. I'm a little more baseball oriented in there. I don't typically talk about just Red Sox on my own Twitter account. But one thing that I would say to the young generation out there, let's just like take it like this. My nephew's 11, so something I would say to him is, I appreciate you for who you are. Everybody out there should appreciate you for who you are, and if they don't, fuck them. You do you. If it makes you happy, do it. Just don't be a dick, because being a dick's not going to get you anywhere. And I mean, that's pretty much what I've got to say. You've got to, like we've said numerous times, be true to yourself, because if you're not true to yourself, you're not going to be happy, and you want to be happy.
Fantastic. I love it. Well, thanks again for coming on. I really enjoyed this kind of impromptu conversation with you. I thought this was great. Quick shout out to Belly Up Sports. Quick shout out to Tiki Live. You can find this on tikilive.com. Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern. That's the regular spot for the show. And then follow at Belly Up Sports, at Belly Up Podcasts, and at Divots and Pivots on Twitter. We will see you next time, guys. Have a great one.